The future of talk is here. Power 102 Digital.
Good afternoon. It's Power 102 Digital Friday. And this afternoon, Hard Talk puts the spotlight on the Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Today's topic, parental alienation on how it led to the loss of my child's life. That topic again, parental alienation or alienation. Yeah, that's right, alienation of how it led to the loss of my child. Hard Talk starts now with Randall Field and his co-host. Good afternoon, Randall.
Hey, good afternoon, Mark, once again. We firstly must always thank Power 102 FM for the opportunity to be able to advocate, for the opportunity to be able to reach to the public. I mean, the public has been always trying to get to us. We must say thanks once again to Power 102 for making this available so persons have the opportunity to call, get their questions answered. People have the opportunity to get information. I mean, in light of the things that we saw happen this week, or some of the allegations we heard made, or the statements made rather, in pertaining to the case with little Amara, who was beheaded, you realize the value of having this type of information in our space. And we continue to encourage people to utilize this platform, continue to encourage people to call with your questions, because, I mean, as we saw in the case of Mr. Shannon Lalit, he tried his best to find information. We would have been in contact just on the phone with Mr. Lalit as well. He's expected to join us during this session between 4 to 6. We also will be joined by Mr. Selvon Reyes as well. He also, as a father who was parentally alienated for a time, went to the courts to try to have a custody of his children granted to him. And we know that story, how it ended. Selvon's 2 children and his ex-wife were all slaughtered by the ex-wife's current lover, the stepfather, air quotes, so to speak. We also have with us Mr. Farid Khan, who will give his story. And you see, the basis of what we really want to bring across here is what we've been lamenting about for years. And Shervon, my co-host, Mr. Lewis, who is also one of our outreach officers, one of the guys that also spearheads a lot of the work that we do at the Single Fathers Association, or Fathers Association as we are now called, will attest to that, to the number of men that contact us in our organization suffering from parental alienation. For persons who may not understand or know what parental alienation is, this is when one party decides or one party makes a move to remove contact from the other parent, and the other parent is therefore alienated from the child. The child is alienated, and the child is alienated from the parent also. We have seen, and just as in Mr. Lalit's case that he highlighted this week, that this alienation can lead to many a tragic event. In some cases, this would lead to, we've seen it lead to psychological impacts on the children, psychological impacts on the father, psychological impacts on external father, the external family of the father, so to speak, set a foundation or set a platform rather that speaks to children losing their lives, and losing their lives in multiple ways. And we're going to have Mr. Farid Khan share his story in a little bit about the way his child and he became disconnected. Losing your life, losing some of them, losing their physical lives, and some of them losing the life that they had in Trinidad. Some of them being parentally abducted or kidnapped to other countries, where they are no longer in contact with anyone. So this is just a little tease as into what we have planned for you today. We also have another father, Mr. Jeriah, as well, who has an extraordinary circumstance as well. So we're hoping that these guys log in between the 4 to 6 p.m. time so that you all will hear their stories, and we will give commentary on their stories and give advice on their stories. Now, while we're giving advice, on these particular stories. The reason we do that, and we're glad for the platform, is to afford other persons in similar circumstances to be able to be edified, to be able to understand some of the things that they could do, some of the strategies they need to put in place, some of the places they could go to for relief, some of the things that they can do to actually get the ball rolling. And I think we will dissect, even in Mr. Lalit's case, I mean, how we could have found a way to possibly, and I mean, get him involved into his child's life and possibly save her life at the end of the day. So, Shervon,
Hey, good evening, brother. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. And David, good evening. And again, thanks to the 102 team for giving us this space for men, fathers to have a voice in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, the sad thing is, Ronell, and David would recall last week, during last week's program, we actually made a reference to Mr. Selvon's case, right? Unknowingly that we will be facing a situation like this this week. And let me say condolences to the family of baby Azara. You know, this
Amara.
is Amara.
Yeah.
Definitely a tragic situation. And we have been advocating over the years that there are mechanisms to minimize these situations occurring. And one of those definitely is allowing fathers to be part of their children's lives. And, you know, Rondell touched on at the start parental alienation and the definition, which we also touched on last week. And just to remind the listeners that oftentimes when we talk about parental alienation, we think it's just keeping the other child away, not letting the parent have access to the child. But in some cases, parents have access to the child and are still being alienated. And these are the tactics that lead to the child not even want to be a part of the other parent's life. So sometimes the parent outrightly says, we are not letting you see your father, not letting you see your mother. But in some cases, they let them see them, but they make the child life miserable so that the child themselves is fearful and don't want to be a part of the life. And some of those tactics we touched on last week is slandering the other parent in front of the child, right? Telling the child the other parent doesn't love them, making false allegations of abuse about the other parent and informing the child of that. And those kind of things they do to paint the parent as a monster so that the child in themselves are fearful. So you'll hear fathers call us sometimes, Rondell, and they will say to us, I went to pick up my child, but the child crying to come by me, the child afraid to come by me, and all those things. So people might say, well, I don't parental alienate, I don't keep my child from the father, but it's not just keeping them away, it's practicing those things that we said last week and Rondell highlighted today that has long-term effects on the life of your child all the way into adulthood.
And I mean, just to jump in and add on that point there, Shervon, and it's what we've been harping about for the entirety of the week. People need to understand the value of the co-parental relationship, and which is actually the counter to parental alienation. The value of co-parenting, the extra protective arm that it affords the child. So it isn't just, as we saying, just about the development of the bond with the child and the child's family as well. But we are saying and insinuating very strongly that you give the child an entire protective arm, all on the next side of the fence as well. It means that if the child is uncomfortable of some type of behavior taking place at the mother's house or with the mother's party or lover at that point in time, the child now, who most likely may be fearful to say it in that space, has the opportunity to voice it in another space that they may feel comfortable to do so. And even if not voluntarily voicing it, but may spark something that may raise the inquisitivity of the other parent. So by removing the opportunity for that child to be able to share that space, build that bond, and have that extra arm of protection, Shervon, I am saying is a dangerous practice, and is a practice that our judicial system must make a public statement and a stand against.
And let me just add there on there for the listeners, parental alienation, the term, is not something the Fathers Association came up with, right? There are scientific and psychological studies on parental alienation. In fact, it has been classified as a form of child abuse in some legislation, in some jurisdictions. In law, they've written it in as child abuse, and it has also been noted in what we call the DSM-5, which is the American Psychological Association Diagnosis Statistical Manual, where they record different types of mental illnesses. They've diagnosed it there as a form of child abuse. So this is not something we come up with to fight with anybody, right? There's documented research on the very drastic effects of parental alienation on the life of children. Ronald, I see we have Jeriah is also in now.
Right, great. Welcome, Jeriah. Welcome, Jeriah.
Let me just
Ronald,
interject.
just before you go ahead, David. Sorry.
Yeah, I have a caller here, very persistent.
Right.
Good afternoon, caller. Hello?
Hello. Hi, today.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Castro. I saw the program was live. I got a message from me through Facebook. Right. Am I live?
Yes,
you're
live right now.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Aaron Castro. I am going through a situation right now. I haven't seen my daughter in 13 months. My daughter turned 1 in January this year. Right? Yeah, she turned 1 in January this year. The mother, we had a court date last year on domestic violence. He tried to weaponize the police against me, but I did a protection order, so both protection orders were called at the same time.
Right.
So the judge was a bit confused, shocked, I should say, because she never see anything like that happen before. Right? I'm supposed to have gotten access to my daughter since November the 10th. I was supposed to prepare everything, baby crib, car seat, everything. I purchased everything to my daughter. Mother never showed up. She basically sold her house, deleted all social media accounts, and went into hiding. I know there's a warrant for her.
A bench warrant for her to appear in court for the matter.
For the matter, yes.
Right. And this is what I'm saying, Mr. Castle and Shervon. In this instance, I'm grateful that at least Mr. Castle was able to know her whereabouts at first so she could be served. But there are also a number of persons who've gone and sought the court as well, Shervon. And because the police can't find them, and I guess this is where his case was. They had to wait for a long period of time until the judge or the magistrate issued a bench warrant to find her. And even with the bench warrant to find her, for some reason, bench warrants issued for women, for some reason, there's less of a vigor, from my experience, in finding a person and bringing them before the courts. And particularly because the police may say, well, this is just a custody matter. But what they fail to realize is that if this father has no contact with his child, the child doesn't have his protection. We don't know if the child is in danger. We don't know if the child is safer. We don't know if the child is in where it is. And that to me should be an immediate trigger, as you see in the United States when they come to Amber Alert. But we'll only be able to reach there when our state starts to recognize the fact that parents can abduct their very own children.
And if I could add to that, the very same effort that we see given into maintenance warrants is the very same effort, or more. In fact, more. Not the very same, more should be given in these situations, because what we have here is a missing child.
Can I intervene a bit?
Yes, go ahead.
So the process, I've been calling numerous police officers, warrant officers from different areas where she was located in in Pity Valley. One had executed the war. Well, went to her dad's location because the parents dad know where it is, where she's at right now. Everybody will say no, they don't know, but just keep in contact with those family in Shervon for sure. Right? I've
Right.
been calling until officers stop answering my phone calls.
Correct. And this sounds very similar as to what you're hearing Mr. Lalit was saying. If something all the time you're trying to make attempts to find the person and you can't find the person with the child. Now it's okay if the person themselves wasn't hiding, but the person has gone with another life. That is not their sole responsibility as well. The thing is, nobody knows. When you ask the parents, when you ask the friends, when you ask the neighbors, nobody knows where the child is. But as Mr. Lily told me and told the country, when the child was murdered, everybody knew where to find him, to tell him where to come to see the child all of a sudden. And I have realized that fathers, particularly in separated relationships, since this has happened this week, there's been a heightened increase of fear, Shervon. As we can attest to, fathers have been messaging and calling a lot more now because they are a lot more fearful that, hey, if we don't find out the location of our children, we could lose our daughter, we could lose our son as well. And I am pressing on our legislators to legislate parental child abduction, whether it deals only with so that it covers not only international but within our borders as well. Once you cannot be found for over a period of time, you and the child, it should be deemed as parental abduction, and manhunts should be taken out for you. This man, from what I gathered, Mr. Castle said that she sold the property. You said?
Sold her house, delete all social media accounts. I have a few friends in immigration and I can't call names. My
Right.
daughter actually has a passport with her deceased husband, but with my child mother's deceased husband last name on it. So my daughter is kind of deceased husband last name.
Wow. And as you touch that point, I want to go to Mr. Farid Khan because what
Aaron, thanks for calling, Aaron. Thanks for calling. And there are some callers messaging also asking for the number. So let me just call it out for you all. It's 222-TALK, 222-8255. Toll-free number.
Actually me, sorry.
The toll-free number is, 1 second. 318-1021 is the WhatsApp number. 318-1021 is the WhatsApp number. And the toll-free number is 866-525-1099. 866-525-1099. Go ahead, Ronald.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I think on that limb, it's a good opportunity to bring in Mr. Farid Khan's story, because this could be Mr. Castle's situation and he's just unaware of it, Mr. Farid Khan, you there, Farid?
Yes, bro.
Farid, well, we've been representing Farid for a while. Farid, I don't know if you want to share your story. Well, we know you're here to share your story. Please give us an insight as into where your son is located at this point in time and what you've been facing for the last few years. Let us know how long. When is the last time you saw your son, Farid?
Right, that's it for the excuse, man, because from the Britain is a lot. I've been there.
I know.
But
we here to support you, bro. As I always tell you, let your emotions flow as it have to, no problem.
That'll be natural as usual. It has been 3 years. 3 years something. I haven't seen my son. He's in Jamaica. I receive a code access from the Princess Town Magistrate Court stating that I could have seen my son on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, birthday, holidays. Up to now, I haven't seen him. Bro, I just want to see him, and knowing the amount of things going on out there, and knowing well how she messaging me and telling me she want money, and after she's keeping him home from school and them kind of sort of things. It don't be nice. I know it's nice for me to be speaking at the moment, but I have to, because I know it have a lot of fathers out there. I don't want them to encounter that kind of problem in no way. But
I understand, brother.
In no way, but bro.
And I remember, Farid, I think it's a year ago, when you came to us again, because a video surfaced on social media with your son making gang signs or gun signs and
Exactly.
being encouraged by the being encouraged by the lady's new lover in Jamaica. The accent was a Jamaican accent, and they were
Yeah,
videotaping the young boy and encouraging him to make gang signs and gun signals and alleged
exactly.
Jamaican gang signs.
Exactly
Um,
so, bro.
this is exactly. Go ahead, Shervon.
No, I was going to ask you, where is the Hague Convention process in this situation? And for those of you all who are not aware of what the Hague Convention is, a treaty signed on by several nations around the world that is supposed to address the issue of child kidnapping by parents, right? Parental kidnapping.
All right.
Well,
But let me jump in there, Siobhan. Many of our CARICOM member states, for some strange and foolish reason, have not signed or entered into bilateral agreements. Because even though you're signed on to the treaty, you must have bilateral agreements with the member state. So as you may know, we have been able to retrieve children from as far as Australia, as far as Canada, as far as these parts of the world, the United States and Canada, for sure, I must say, always, they always send the children back very quickly. But right within our CARICOM, like Barbados, Jamaica, as in Farid's case, Guyana, like in so many other men's case that we are appealing for, we're not signing to that bilateral agreement with them. So these men face the harsh opportunity to then now have to leave Trinidad, go back to Jamaica, and Farid, is the mother a Jamaican national? I can't remember.
She is a
And right,
Jamaican national.
once they are a national of that nation, when the child enters that airspace, not even landing on the ground, the child is now considered under the nationality of the birth parent at that point in time and resident there. So he now has to leave here to go to Jamaica to enter Jamaica's domestic courts to have them in their eyesight send a Jamaican child now. Even though he was born in Trinidad, they consider him a Jamaican child back to Trinidad. And therein is where we are saying we have challenges, we are having issues. The fact is, this man's child could be in danger. And God forbid we hear some gang shooting if the new lover is involved in some gang, and which we could assume based on what he was encouraging the young man to do on the video that went viral and was even down here in Trinidad, we were able to see it. What are we going to say then? What is the Minister of Foreign Affairs going to say then? The Minister of National Security, his member of parliament at that point in time, is now going to wish him or wish him the best or offer their condolences when they sat by and did nothing to eliminate this parental alienation, slight parental child abduction that has been going on for 3 years. And I strongly believe also, Shervon and Farid, that Mr. Castle's experience may very well be that now. Because if the party sold their home, then we're going to have a problem. So we need to make a call for sure that parental abduction be seen as a criminal, be legislated as a criminal offense, and then not under the manner that we see it as civil child abduction because it is a parent. Because the real and true fact is that these children, once alienated from one parent and is another place without that parent's permission, can be in true and present harm. And apart from the harm, what is the psychological impact? This is possibly about 3 years or more that Mr. Khan is going through this, and he is still emotionally crushed. Look at him. He is still emotionally crushed while he explaining it.
It's not nice at all.
Tell us how
Knowing
you
going through
cope,
that court
Farid.
process. Sorry about that, Mr. Arnold.
Tell us how you cope day to day with the fact that you know where he is, but you have not reached him.
I think I just isolate myself away from people and everything. I just praying and trying to pray more and more, bro. At the end of the day, knowing and to study and to say, well, I went through all this process with the court. You understand? First, the beginning, it was child protection. They came. You understand? I went back by them when they took him and sent him out. Nobody, usually this person who helped him out. You understand?
Mm.
I know that for sure. I saw that. You understand? A lot saw it too. But bro, going through the process with the court and all kind of thing at that point in time when I was trying to get him and have him in my hands, knowing the individual, knowing the family who was involved in she had and whosoever she linked with. You know, it is go like this. Once it's a woman, they always get into in some way. Somebody will always help them or try to duck them or put them
Mm.
out of the way so that they cannot find them in some way. But now is in a man situation. Nobody reaching out, no child protection, no child authority, no matter the court, deciding
Mm-hmm.
you all.
Mm-hmm.
Deciding
And
you all.
I mean, sir, I think we could safely say, and I see Wendell has just joined us, one of our directors and outreach officers as well, and we'll bring Wendell in straight after to give his perspective so far on what's been said. But I think, guys, we could safely say that based on the fact that I would like to say possibly Fareed didn't get a fair shake in court or didn't get the assistance or wasn't granted custody, even though knowing that the mother of the child was a non-national, may be the result of why the child was parentally kidnapped. Because I will continue to use that term because that is what it is, out of the country in complete disregard of the order set by the sitting judge or magistrate in Princestown, that she was to stay here and that she was to give him meaningful access. So it means she disregarded what the order said and not only hid the child within the jurisdiction or away from the father, she decided to abscond entirely and totally disregard it. And yet this is not, there isn't a penalty that will demand her to return to our country with the child, a Trinidadian born child. Wendell?
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. This continues to be one of the issues that we have always been lobbying for, that things be put in place. And now we are seeing the extent, in a real and meaningful way, we are seeing the extent of the danger, clear and present danger that the children are actually exposed to, as in the case of this young child that has recently been a victim. And, you know, we have had a number of cases of children falling victim to murder in the most gruesome manner as a result of decisions, and I consider it to be very poor decisions that have been made by the judiciary and the sitting judge or magistrate in some cases, right? And something must be done. We cannot continue to allow our children to become victims in this manner, not just of parental alienation, but also of such heinous crime as we are seeing happening within recent times. And I mean, we have to admit, gentlemen, that it is an increasing thing that is happening.
True.
You know, it used to be far, you know, and wide apart, but now it's getting closer and closer in its occurrence, right? And we cannot continue to allow this to happen.
But Wendell, what do you say, bro? Knowing, I mean, you've been there from foundation with me from the beginning, knowing the level of advocacy, knowing the meetings we've had, the protests we've had. We walked with Selvon, Reyes, you remember, when we had the march around the savannah. We lobbied the AG's office. Shervon, you could attest that last year we wrote the AG. We went to a joint select committee up to the parliamentary level where there were members of parliament from both sides that did a JSC report that was very, very favorable to the suggestions we made. How does it make you feel? Because I'm not the only one that has been lobbying. You guys have committed your lives as well. Yeah. How does it feel to you to know that after all this lobby, after reaching straight up to the top, because I still think people think that we haven't done sufficient or we haven't brought it straight up to the heads of the table to correct this. How do you feel, or are you hopeful that the powers will ever act based on the experience we've had?
Based on the amount of work that we have done, based on the meaningful dialogues that we have had with the powers that be, and as you said, all the way to the top, we have left no stone unturned in getting the message across. And I want to be bold to say that the lives of the children that are being lost as a result of these types of situations, those lives, the blood of those children are on the hands of the politicians, the prime minister, the commissioner, all those who have the power, the attorney general, all those who have the power, the legislators, all those who have the power to do something about this, and they are not doing it. The blood of these children are directly on their hands, because the fact of the matter is, if things are put in place, as you would have alluded to earlier, where there are penalties for breaking or disobeying court orders by the parties who have custody of the children, if there were better investigation before orders were made, if persons in high office were being held accountable for the decisions, like the Children's Authority and the Child Protection Unit and so on, if those individuals were being held accountable for the decisions that they made that resulted in the death of these children, if people are held accountable, then we will see a very different picture, right? And something is very wrong. How is it possible that we can take these issues all the way to the top? We can sensitize those that are in power, who have the authority to make the decision to change what is happening. How it is they can be fully aware of the problem and fully aware of what the solutions are, and take absolutely no action.
Agreed. And as they say, I may be bold enough and honest enough to say that sometimes when I see the condolences coming from them, when I see the apologies coming from them, or the sentiments coming from them after the tragedy hits, I see it as hypocritical.
It is.
Because we're not here to attack anybody in per se, but we have to call it hypocritical. Because if we have lamented, if we have sat before you, if we have tabled suggestions, that this is what they normally ask for. If we've taken it to the highest level, which is in the parliament itself, where we have gotten both sides of the fence to agree with 99% of our suggestions, whether it was shared parenting, whether it was paternity fraud, whether it was a number of legislation to stop parental abduction, to stop these things, and yet nobody has done anything. We've told you the opportunity it creates, or the loophole rather it creates, for children to, one, be trafficked. This is trafficking, what's happening to Farid Khan here. We can't say it's not because it's the parent, it is impossible to do. You understand? This is what it is. This is, you've trafficked a child across to another nation. We've had reports even from Venezuelans that have contacted me, fathers, who've given no permission for the children to come across on a boat and then get residency or whatever we've given them here to stay. And they have information that the children, the mother and the grandmother, is begging on the street, which to them definitely should be a risk. So you've brought the child to another nation without the proper consent from the other parent, and the child is begging. Is a beggar in another nation. And our nation facilitates that. Farid Khan has no idea as into the status of his child because he's uninformed. He doesn't know when he is sick. He doesn't know when he has an issue. He doesn't know if he's being sexually molested. He doesn't know if he's involved in a gang. He doesn't know, and I don't say these things to make him even more emotional. But the reality is, because he is in no contact with him, that extra arm of protection that he's supposed to be able to enforce on the child's behalf, he doesn't have it. The child doesn't have it. So I cannot understand why to this date, after we've said all these things directly to those who have the powers on both sides of the benches to make some meaningful change, that it hasn't been done. I see we have Mr. Jeriah Emanuel with us. I know, yeah, Shervon, this was a case that came before you, Shervon. I don't know if you want to go into the case and explain the what Mr. Emanuel came to the organization about, or Mr. Emanuel could give a little. So take it through with him now, Shervon, since you're the one more involved in the case.
Sure, no problem at all. I just want to remind Trinidad and Tobago the numbers to call 222-8255, 222-8255. The toll-free number is 866-525-1099. And if you're sending WhatsApp messages, you can do so on 318-318-1021. All right. The radio program is also being broadcast live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can feel free to leave your comments there as well. Let me just say,
and before you go, Shervon, I want to encourage men listening to call. This is the time to call. The Power 102 has extended an olive branch. Make full use of it. Sorry, Shervon. I just have to interject it.
You're correct. And that's something we've been saying all along. I just want to tell Trinidad and Tobago before I go to Mr. Emanuel, if you're asking when did we write the Attorney General and how long we waiting now, this letter was written to the present AG, the sitting AG, dated July 18, 2022. Not 23. July 18, 2022. And he did acknowledge receipt. He has been in communication, Mr. Fields. He did promise to schedule a meeting.
Reschedule.
Because he scheduled, and he said something came up, and he said he'll reschedule. And it is almost 2 years now. Imagine that. 2 years now. And our sitting AG doesn't have the time to have a conversation about the issues impacting fathers and children, right? Because it has a direct impact on children. And to everybody listening who's saying, oh gosh, them is probably PNM. That's why they're saying that. Listen, the child who passed away tragically held no party card. So I beg all this for that nonsense. The government didn't provide this government. That's the only government we could talk to.
Correct.
Right? And if it's our next government, that is the government we will also talk to. So done that nonsense, right? Every time somebody dies in this country, your party card don't save you. When death arrives on your door, your party card don't save you. So stop politicizing everything. It's serious we're dealing with. All right, Mr. Emanuel, are you there?
Yeah. All right, yeah.
Right, brother. So you reached out to the association, right? Take us through. Yes. You had custody of your children. Well, when I said custody, your children were living with you. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
How many children?
3.
3 children were living with you. And you explained to us, recently you made an application to the court. What did you make an application to the court for?
Maintenance and custody. I filed that last year in August.
Right. And you have a data hearing coming up in the very near future, correct?
Yes.
Right. That will be your first data hearing.
Yes.
What transpired, though, a couple weeks ago? Tell Trinidad and Tobago.
I got a call from Children's Authority saying that that I'm leaving my children at home. And he said he want to sit and have a discussion with me upon this matter.
Before you get there, Mr. Emanuel, the children were home with you, and he explained to us that you left the children with your neighbor who is an adult, right?
Yeah, that's the point I was coming to.
Right. Take us through that scenario.
Right. So he said he wanted to have a talk with me. So on a number of occasions he reached out. I wasn't home, and because my mother was watching my children.
Mm-hmm.
When they came back into my care, I needed to step out for an hour. So they was playing next door with the neighbor. When I came back, they told me Children's Authority took my kids. When I contacted him, he told me call the hotline. And I hadn't get into no contact until the next day. The mother called me and told me, I hope you learn something from this. When I said I reached out to you many times, and now you're telling me I'm supposed to learn something from this. Are you you're trying to provoke me or something? I'm not into it.
Right. So let me just
Then
recap what Mr. Emanuel is saying. Mr. Emanuel, children were living with him, right? Him and children's mother separated, they were living with him.
Shervon,
Uh-huh.
how old were the children?
8.
Mr. Emanuel, the 3 children. Mhm.
The oldest is 7,
Right,
4, and the
right.
last one turned 2 in February.
Okay.
Right. So the children were living with Mr. Emanuel. Mr. Emanuel stepped out. The children were with his neighbors, playing over by the neighbors, adults and adult. And he's saying that the children were removed. Now, the coincidence here is that these children were removed, Rondell and Wendell, just about 2 weeks before the court hearing, where Mr. Emanuel applied to the court for maintenance and custody of his children.
So the Children Authority removed the children before the maintenance and custody hearing.
Yes, which
But
is supposed to be taking place on Monday.
But you Ronnie, this is something that we have spoken with the Children's Authority about. I mean, I remember meeting one time myself, you, and the head of the Children's Authority at the time, and we had a discussion about the fact that the Children's Authority was being used as a weapon by women to facilitate certain things, especially the removal of children from fathers by way of falsification, false claims, right?
Correct.
And I remember, if you recall, the individual, the man said, well, they had to investigate every report that came in, and that they were understaffed and so on. And they were being stretched thinly as a result of a lot of false allegations that were being made by mothers, right?
Correct.
And here we are seeing a case where this type of behavior continues, where the Children's Authority is being used as a weapon against fathers, right?
Correct.
Because this is a very strategic move. And you and I, who know how the system operates, the father has the children in his possession. If he goes to court with the children in his possession, then the magistrate now has to remove the children if the magistrate is so inclined, and place them in the mother's possession. But if the mother can abduct that children, which the women are using the Children's Authority to do, to abduct the children from the father's care and give them to her, so that when she goes to court, the court, remember how the court operates with men. They don't want to hear no story from the man who has possession of the children. The woman will say, well, I have possession of the children, and she would make it seem as if she has always had possession of the children, right? And the man's side of the story never gets to be heard because the magistrate makes a ruling, right? And this has to stop. How can an institution that was put in place to actually work in the best interest of the child be used as a weapon by mothers, malicious women? How can that continue to happen?
Correct. Agreed. And that is the thing. It's a practice that I know they call status quo. So that the party most times that goes to court with the child is more likely or most likely to be the person awarded custody of the child. What is extremely troubling to me, and I think the Children Authority must be made to answer. And since the report that Shervon gave to me, I have already sent something out to the communication officer there to find that out for me. Most times, the Children Authority are very careful when court matters are on the rise. And the thing is, normally, if it was a matter that already was in process, they would not intervene. But the thing I'm looking at here, this one was just 2 weeks away. So it means very soon, the children and the father would have been before the court with the mother anyhow. So
That's
any
right.
issue that had to be raised could have been raised before the court at that point in time. So for the removal per se, I would be very interested to hear the grounds on which these children were removed. I am also more interested because of what he said to me, Mr. Emanuel has said to me, was told to him by the mother the day after, which is what did you say she told you? And that tell you
I
I would
hope you
I hope
learn
you learn
something
a
from all
lesson.
this.
correct.
I
So
hope you
if
learn a
that
lesson.
is the if that is the case, and I wanted to take a report and report that to the Children Authority officer what was said,
But
I am very
what I find was unprofessional about
Mhm.
the officer is that even though that you remove the children, I understand that you have certain procedure that you have to follow. But due to that, you have to write a report that you said you wanted to send in Monday, and you call me on your off day. I say, but chief, you could have meet me when you're supposed to meet me, but now you're calling me to do an online interview so you can make a report.
So, but did you call the hotline and the hotline confirmed that it was the Children Authority that removed these children, boy? Because I have
No,
sent,
no.
I have,
I
I
tried
have,
to get on. I tried to get on to them, right? And I was waiting for a period of time. Now
and
my
nobody
money
answered.
run out.
So, because I have sent, I have yet still to have confirmation from the Children Authority that they removed the child, because I find that is a strange arrangement. It's not even one I've seen the Children Authority perform the way this one person keep contacting you. Normally they would come, they would do wellness checks before, a number of things before just an immediate removal, unless they came and met the children in immediate squalor. If the house falling down on top of the children, or they found the children in immediate danger, or something of the sorts. I find it to be
Yeah.
peculiar and very strange. You understand? I can possibly think to myself that if she has been incessantly harassing the Children Authority, and even still the Children Authority still has the duty to perform the investigation before they remove. So
Yes.
this is something we will stay on, and let me tell you why I think Shervon, as we were saying, also Wendell, I think it was important for Mr. Emanuel to be here. Yes, we've seen the slip in the justice system here now, and I want you to bring this up to the magistrate when you have your hearing, because you may still have the hearing to go to. I
Yes.
received a voice note from our outreach officer that was very troubling to me. A voice note that was sent to you that was very threatening, and not only threatening to you, but threatening to you in both ways. It was an individual where I believe the children, or who I believe the children may be now exposed to, who the
Well,
Children Authority.
that wasn't the first one, eh? That wasn't the first one. That is
Wow,
the second threat. The first one was
wow.
last year.
So right now your children is in the company, even if the guy not living there. From what
The
I
guy
heard
is
on the
living
voice
with
note,
her. The guy is living with her.
and that is the point I'm trying to make. We have the
So
Children Authority. I am very concerned. I don't mean to cut you, because what I heard on that voice note, and I hope you're going to the police with it, and I hope the Children Authority, based on what is on that voice note, go back and remove those children from that house, because I will bring a hail of fire upon them if anything happened to those children in that house. Because you see, what that guy was suggesting you do to yourself, and what he was saying he's going to do to you, is very troubling. Very troubling. I'm sending a warning to the Children Authority today. Go to that house, do the investigation, because if any harm comes to this man's children, I will bring a hail of fire upon you. I am very concerned and considerate of sending this to a very high level, that voice note, because that voice note indicates immediate danger to this gentleman's life. And not I don't want to give the details of what was said in it, and I don't want you to either.
but
But the
I'm not
person was
giving
very
details.
instructive.
I will not give details, right? But since then, right, I
Mhm.
have. Yesterday was the first time since they was removed. I got a video. I got to see my children over a video chat,
Mm.
and that was due to her that my daughter have an infection on her forehead, which when she left my presence, she didn't have. Every time these children go and come back, they either come back sick or some kind of infection is placed on them. And I go to the hospital without any assistance to deal with this situation on my own. So
I
if
am very
I really came out here to speak up and let all other single fathers know that you're not alone out here.
correct.
And you need
Correct.
to step up. Right?
But Mr.
Because
Emmanuel, I want to advise you. I want to advise you to go, if you haven't, go to the nearest police station, make a report. I need you to go into the Children Authority and make a report. But that is a voice note that needs to be sent there. I didn't send it as yet because I need to speak to you. I know this is the first time you and I communicating. You've been communicating with Shervon. I need to speak to you before I take particular action. But I am saying on public national radio today that what was sent on that voice note, those children should be nowhere close to that individual who sent that voice note. And if any harm befall them, the persons who remove those children, let them face the consequence. And as Wendell said, if there was penalty and imprisonment for those who made decisions like those in our country, did I say we living in a communist state? But some people tread carelessly with the lives of the innocent children. Wendell, if you hear that voice note, you'd be surprised. I would not, God forbid, that's the way that gentleman, the things he told him to do to himself, and the things he said that people would come and do. How you could have children in a space with that person, and you deem that as a safer place? It's time for us to call for some of the CEOs' heads in these places. Fire them.
But even though the judge come and grant her custody, how it is that I can guarantee my safety on going there to visit my children?
Correct.
And that is why
if the judge is ridiculous enough to grant her custody now.
And that's where I feel so I was saying to you, the first thing you need to do, and I hope you've done it already, if not, you need to do so urgently, is to make a report to the police. All right?
Correct.
We see what's happening every day. This is not something to take lightly. Right? Make
Correct.
The police about that message that was sent to you, or messages from what you say, right?
I am concerned about something I just heard there. He said that the child had an infection in her forehead. What is the reason for that? Did she get a cut or bruise?
I cannot say. I really cannot say. When my daughter here was breaking up due to how her mother straightened her at that tender age, and I don't know how. I really don't know nothing about here.
How
so
old
I
is this
basically
child?
just put everything in one. 4.
And was the Children's Authority involved in this case prior to this incident where they removed the children?
Say again?
Were the Children's Authority ever involved in the case prior to their removing the children from your home?
In what sense?
Were they involved in the case? Were they involved? Did they ever interview the children? Did they ever?
It's the only my mom. He was supposed to meet them by my mom. I don't know if they really had any interaction with the children or anything. My mom said that they wasn't there for long.
So the first time and the only time that Children's Authority got involved in your case is when they removed the children from your care.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right, Mr. Emanuel, we want to thank you very much for joining the program today. Right?
Yes.
We will continue to be in contact with you, but as we said, please make sure and make that report to the police. All right?
All right.
We'll be in contact with you. Take care, brother.
Mark, We have Mr. Shannon Lally trying to get on to the program. I think he having a little technical difficulty there with the software. So I send him your number. Hopefully you all could work it out to get him on eventually.
Okay, let me see if I can see his number. You WhatsApp it to me?
Yeah, let me send it to you right now.
Yes.
Yeah, guys, go ahead now.
All right, Jet, and I know when people separate, there's all sorts of emotional trauma from that separation, especially depending on what caused the separation. But I want to remind parents today, we keep hammering on parental alienation today, the long-term effects, not short-term, right? Long-term effects of parental alienation, which we touched on last week. Low self-esteem, eating disorders, depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, difficulty trusting others, addiction, grief, abusive romantic relationships, increased risk of becoming an alienated parent themselves. So while you thinking you're doing your child father something, or you're doing your child mother something, parents, what you are really doing is damaging your children, possibly for a lifetime to come. So we keep pleading with parents, we keep pleading with the government, we pleading with the courts that we have to recognize the seriousness of this issue. We're seeing violence spilling out in the schools every day. Children fighting on the side of the road in maxis and buses, all kind of things happening, delinquent behavior increasing right before our very eyes. We're seeing broken young men growing up to be broken men. And we are saying we can't police ourselves out of what we're seeing now. No amount of police officers and army and all of those things could get us out of the situation we have now. We are losing the war. We are losing the war because we are not allowing parents to parents or encouraging parents to parent. And if we have a system that is adversarial and we have laws that encourage conflict and adversaries, then what you will see when people hurt in these situations, they will use these systems as weapons of warfare. Instead of the system saying, hey, no, this is not the way to treat with it. I know you're hurt. Let us counsel you to deal with your hurt. And let us counsel you into co-parenting. Because parents, while your relationship may have ended, your romantic relationship, let me put it that way, while your romantic relationship may have ended, your parental relationship continues for a lifetime. And we need the court to understand that. We need the state to understand that. And importantly, we need parents to understand that. You're muted, Fields. You're muted.
Yeah, well said and agreed, Shervon. And Farid Khan, Mr. Khan, I mean, we don't want to keep you much longer. We don't want to keep you longer. We thank you for taking the time to come out. We know it's a hard issue that you had to discuss. As you know, we will continue to pioneer. We'll continue to lobby. We'll continue to beat on the AG's doors until they see the value and significance of trying to put some legislative works into the process so that children like yours could return to Trinidad and Tobago and we could forbid other children getting out there as well. How old is your son right now, Farid? How old would he be now?
7 years of age.
7 years of age. I mean, so long before 18. You know, some people will want to tell you wait till 18. We encourage you to not say that. Keep pushing forward. We will continue to push forward. We'll continue to bang on every door. We call for Trinidad and Tobago to support these initiatives, support these suggestions as we continue to advocate for change. These things should not happen. This man's child could be in immediate danger. I tell you, we saw a social media video that circulated with a gentleman pouncing or pushing his child in the direction of like gunshots and going gang signals.
Correct.
So I mean, what kind of influence is there on that child? We're talking also about. We just spoke to Mr. Emanuel,
And
and I'm telling you,
gentlemen,
thanks, Farid.
I have the gentleman on the line.
You're welcome.
All right, okay. You have all right, Farid. Thanks for coming on, Farid, and we'll continue working with it.
Yeah, brother. That's it.
All right. So we have Mr. Lalit on the line now. Mark, is there?
Shannon Lalit.
Yes, he's there.
I'm right here. Everyone hear me?
Yeah, hearing you clearly, Shannon. Firstly, Shannon, we want to extend our condolences to your brother. I know this must be a very difficult week for you, but I want to commend you also. As much as I extend condolences, we see this happen so many times to children. Just recently, a child was murdered also, together with his mother. We know the story of the behind tales for that incident as well. And we saw our father there actually cursing the corpse in the box. He didn't come forward and say things, and men sometimes hardly do come forward. I must commend you for finding that fortitude to come forward and letting your voice be heard as you seek justice for your daughter.
Correct.
Before anything else. So give us a little insight of the relationship. Again, I know you said it to everybody over and over again for the entire week, but give us an insight of some of the struggles you endured, some of the attempts that you made, some of the things you tried to get your daughter into your possession and your custody, and tell us why you thought it would have been wise for her to be in your custody as well, more so than the mother's.
Well, if she was in my custody, she'd be in a better position because, I mean, my mother wanted to see her, and I mean, the place and always where she was staying was a kind of dilapidated kind of place. And all how I tried to see my child was a problem. Right, sure, I keep getting blocked. I get blocked from the police. I get blocked from the court. When the police and them running me from the yard like I was a criminal. The court telling me I try to apply for custody, part custody, not full custody, part custody for my child. But, it's only until the mother could bring me up for child maintenance, then I could see the child. I said, well, what kind of madness is this? This is real madness. It's ludicrous.
Break it into
the child started to grow a little bit. When the child started to grow a little bit, now I go by Parents and Teachers Association. And it was a problem and all this too, because the Parents and Teachers Association telling me that they cannot give her the information which school my daughter will be attending, because if she come outside and call her next man daddy, I might get vexed and have a confrontation and school go get a bad name. That's real bullshit. That is real shit. But the thing about it has been happening for so long with other fathers, right? It happened to me here today. So we're not trying to make no change. If serious situations like this happening in the country and they ain't trying to make no change, that means all they like it. That means they like what's going on here in the country.
Yesterday I heard that you had the and I know this is a I mean, we had to say good afternoon to Mr. Selvon Reyes. He'll come on. He also was a father that had a very similar fate as yours. Yesterday I heard you were there for the autopsy. Yeah?
I had a call back. I say in the studio here right now, I had a call back.
No problem. Right, so we're waiting for you to call back. Right?
Call me first before you call back, right?
All right then, straight.
Good, right.
All right, good.
Yes.
So we have Mr. Selvon Reyes with us. Selvon has for years, I mean, I would say joined the advocacy. Selvon is a champion. He's a Viking of a man who would have endured a very hard circumstance, and on some end of it still being able to come out of it. Selvon, you just heard Mr. Shannon Lalit's problems, and other problems, but what he had to deal with this week. How, or firstly, did it impact you? And if it did impact you, having gone through it before, can you tell us how it impacted you, Selvon?
Good evening to the panel. Mr. Fizz. First of all, I want to say condolences to Mr. Shannon. I spoke to him this morning, right? This is deja vu for me, right? Because the morning when I got up, the first thing I could see on Facebook is this. First, I didn't take it seriously. I just see it was just a prank again, right?
Mm.
But when the news, it really hit me when everybody was talking about it and it came across the news. That is when it hit me,
Mm.
right? I want to be straightforward here.
Mm.
People don't know, and I don't think they will ever understand the feeling and the pain that I am still going through. The fathers who lost kids are going through. You understand? Because when I heard this, my inside was hollow again
Mm.
because I felt the pain, the same pain I felt when I lost my two kids, is the same pain came back to me again. I could not work that day because every people who I know, they started to tell me, they started to say, boy, I know how you're feeling. It's the same thing happening again. I could not work, right?
Mm.
And the system, I will say, them as murderers, same as the people who doing it, you know,
Mm.
right? Because
That's
if it happened to one is too many, and it still keep continuing, and all you're still not trying to fix the system. All is part of it too. All you come just like the person who doing the gruesome act,
mm.
right?
Selvon, since then, I know you're it's about 10 years now. Selvon has yet 10, 12 years by now.
11 years.
11 years now. Since then, Selvon, I mean, hmm, I remember this story was a tragic one in your situation.
Mm-hmm.
Not only your children were murdered, your two sons, but
And my
also
deceased wife.
the woman, exactly,
Yeah.
your wife as well was murdered.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I know you were the one that stumbled across the situation, and it's something I wanted to ask Shannon, and I know he may be still listening, and I know you all going to have similar experiences because I know you would have to be the one to identify the bodies with the autopsy and all these things. After having gone through these kind of things, you and men like Kevin Cumberbatch, who we also supported when Kiana was found as well, do you have or give him some advice as into how we should treat with what he's about to face? Because he ain't very baby yet, you know. And
No.
we know that you have gone through at least past those stages. You're still dealing with the post matter of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But can you advise a man who's going through, or a parent who's going through that type of grief or loss as into a methodology, something that you didn't do that you think you might have been able to do? Can you advise, you think, at this point on that?
The advice I have to give him, right? Presently, now everything is hot.
Hmm.
Everything is hot, right? Um, all these radio stations they want to interview him. Every
Hmm.
they want to have the first of
Hmm.
everything. You
Hmm.
understand? But what are these radio stations? All who want to interview him,
Hmm.
right? I listened. He was on a program this morning, and I listened. These stupid question these two
Hmm.
gentlemen was
Asking him.
asking him, right? Concerning why he didn't get a lawyer. I laugh. You know why?
Hmm.
I did get a lawyer to help me get custody for my kids, you know.
I remember.
And I get I turned to a female attorney, and the female attorney straight out, she said, Mr. Reyes, we wouldn't win this case, you know. She said we wouldn't win this case. We have to prove the mother not fit to have these children in the court, you know. And she lay out the 3 ground rules, right? She said, and the lawyer say, I wouldn't take your money. If I take your money and go before the magistrate, it's unfair. It's unfair. You understand?
And Mr. Reyes, your
The
children
advice I have to give,
right?
huh?
Your children were living with you at the time.
My children were living with me. Living. I was cooking, washing, everything for them. Getting up early in the morning and taking them to school, take them by the babysitter, everything. Right? I was practically mommy and daddy, everything.
Until the separation.
Removed
Until the separation.
And is it that the court removed the children from your care after and
Yep.
gave the children to the mother?
And the court removed. I went for custody. The magistrate watched me up and down. And she said, look at you. You didn't look like you could see about children. The woman literally belittling me. Look me down. And say, Mister, give the woman her children. I could have dropped down in the court there. Literally dropped down in the court. And still, the mother didn't have time for the kids. All they had a court ruling. Most of the time, the kids was by me still. I never went back to the court to try to fight her back. The court done made a decision already, you know. You understand? The only thing she didn't do, the court asked her, Mom, is he minding the children? She said yes. The court said, okay, we don't need maintenance here. Right?
So,
my advice for Mr. Shannon, now everything is, you see, that on that day, when your daughter going down, trust me, that is when you will feel it. Because I listening the news this evening, how they could find counseling for the mother. What happened to the father? Why all you can't find counseling for him? No one never find counseling for me, you know. No one, you know. No one. The system did nothing for me. I was to battle on my own. Thank God to my parents. Thank God to a certain company that paid a psychiatrist to see about me. I was on the doorstep to sentence. I worked in a company for 12 years. After, when I was so sick, the company was the part for me. No one in the system helped me, you know. No counseling, nothing, you know. But yes, there is fine counseling for the mothers. The fathers, you feel we as human, the same pain the mothers just go through is the same pain our fathers go through and more.
Correct. I mean, because as a father, we tend to have that protective spirit and tell ourselves if we were there or what happened to my child suffer. I wish I'd just decide to show up. We sometimes blame ourselves. We sometimes blame ourselves, thinking if I was there.
Up to this day, I just blame myself.
Gentlemen,
I just blame myself for my children.
All right. Shannon is there again?
Yes, he's here.
Yes, I'm right here.
So Shannon, I know they said yesterday, I hope you listening to the advice that Selvon is given, seeing that he's been through this situation already. I don't know if you lost him there, Mark.
Yeah, it seems as though we lost him. Let me try and link him.
All right. Yeah, so as we saying, as we go back to the other point, Selvon, when you said that lack of support, it reminded me of Kevin Cumberbatch who was the father of Kiana Cumberbatch, who went through the same ordeal that you went through, same ordeal Shannon is going through. And it was as if on that day, and the Prime Minister at the point in time, Ms. Bisasa, she was there, the MPs were there, the ministers were there, and he was as if he was a ghost. I, who was a complete stranger to everybody, had to stand with him and walk with him to go and see his child in the casket because he was so afraid of being shunned by everybody else. Exactly. I remember on the day while looking for the child with the person who was responsible, who was his stepfather, he was the one the police took.
Yep.
The police took him and he was the suspect.
Imagine the father was helping the murderer look for his own child.
Correct. And then the father was the one taken by the police for the offense until they realized that the murderer killed the child.
Stepfather.
So, exactly. So, I concur when you say that there's no support, there's no trust, there's no... He barely got recognition. When the Prime Minister was passing, I identify him. And look, the father here. You can't shake everybody else and you can't offer sentiments and condolences to everybody else and not offer any to him. I don't know. I don't care if he's portrayed to be a deadbeat father, if he's portrayed as anything. He must be recognized for the position that he holds. And no offering of anything, no offering of any assistance, just as with you, the system and those in the system, after they give you all the nice condolences, you say, after you go on all the morning shows, after the news no longer is hot and tasty, abandons the fathers in these positions. And we are seeing in instances where these men, children were taken away from them. We could have saved their lives. Selvon did everything that Ellen Shannon he should have done, Selvon did it. He did it. He went through the system expecting justice to save his children's life. And didn't receive it, and his children died. And according to what Wendell said, there should be penalty, post-judgment follow-up. You look at a man who's come and said, hey, I would like to have my children, and say, look at you. I never forget that story that Selvon told, that the magistrate, and he continues to say it in the same exact way as he did nearly 12 years ago every time he tells it. Because it is etched, the magistrate's words are etched in his mind because it was so disrespectful and inconsiderate. And I am certain she would have known that her decision ended in the demise of these children and the very said woman she wanted to give it to.
And bro, if I could jump in there a second. When we were chatting last week with the guests that we had on the program, one of them, my brother, he said the exact same words that Mr. Reyes just said. He said, this is where I told you last week, we were talking about it. He said the magistrate said to him, boy, give the woman back that child. The exact same words. And after he finished the sentence, he said, I don't know if it's the same magistrate who addressed Mr. Reyes. But now that Mr. Reyes repeat that sentence there, right?
You're more convinced.
And the thing is, I want to ask Mr. Reyes because he has gone through enough that he has earned, unfortunately, through tragic circumstances, the opportunity to speak here today. Mr. Reyes, 11 years has passed. Have you seen any changes in the way fathers are treated within Trinidad and Tobago?
No. Nothing in change. Right? And they wouldn't even make an effort. If they only make an effort, then we will see well what they're trying to do, trying to fool you with something. But no effort at all. Right? So my question is, who child next?
We know discussing this, Wendell, Selvon, and Shervon, and I am so fearful after hearing that voice note. Selvon, you weren't there at the point in time. I don't know if you was listening on at the point in time where we just spoke to Mr. Jeriah Emanuel. And we have heard that voice note. And I am very concerned, Shervon, for the safety of those children. And it's more concerning to me, Wendell, that is the Children Authority remove them and put them there. It is concerning. The message is that graphic, that what happened. Go ahead, Wendell.
There's something that nobody seems to be talking about. There's a dynamic that is set up within the system. There are instruments that have been put in place, institutions that are responsible for this protecting the safety and well-being of children. And there is something that, we don't have camera footage and voice notes and voicemails of it to document it, to see that we could use these things to prove that it is happening. But as we speak to men, as we look at how the system is being manipulated, we can see that within the system, women are able to manipulate the system based on favor, or based on favoritism, or based on who they know that knows somebody, right? And we know that this is happening, This is happening in the background. Right, we have a case. One of our long-standing members in the organization, that man is going through hell because the woman is well plugged in to highly educated people and people in positions of power and authority. The father has a court order to see his children, to have access to his children. The woman has been hiding the man's child from him for a number of years, and the woman goes to court and tells the judge that yes, she will comply, and then she goes away and does not comply, and nothing is being done to her concerning her consistent breach of the order of the court, right? And this is happening in multiple environments, court environments. Right now, the next thing is, in the criminal law environment, let's say I hire a man, or I tell a man to go and kill. Let's say I tell a man to go and kill another man, right? When that man it is found that that man killed the person who I told him to kill, and he tells them that I commissioned him to go and kill. To go and kill the individual, I am also held and charged. I am also charged for committing that crime. How come a magistrate can refuse to grant a father custody of his child and commit that child, as in the case of this little child, to be beheaded? As far as I am concerned, that magistrate beheaded that child before the man did it. If you all are understanding what I am saying, right? Because that magistrate refused to place the child in a safe environment and place the child in an unsafe environment. But no heads are rolling. Nobody challenging these decisions, right? Nobody is doing follow-up with regards to these things, my brothers. Why? Correct. So can nobody see that something is utterly wrong with this system, that this system is not working? And Mr. Reyes raised a very, very relevant question. Whose child is going to be next? Because the occurrence of it is happening more frequently now than it was before. So no, gentlemen like you and me and Mr. Reyes, whom this thing happened to in a real manner, and guys like us who work in this environment with men on a daily basis, we know we will be uneasy, because the system continues to be what it is. The magistrates and judges continue to make the same decisions. The Children Authority continue to act as they act. The Child Protection Unit continues to act as they act. The police continues to act as they act, right? And by doing so, children are being placed in clear and present danger. So the question remains now, whose child is going to be next?
And bro, if I can add to that, are our children worth more than a box of KFC?
Hmm.
Because it seems like that is the only time Trinidad and Tobago prepared to stand up for something,
True.
right?
KFC price raise.
KFC price raise and its boycotts and its this and its that. But we are seeing our innocent children. Any kind of death for a child is a gruesome death. Any kind.
Hmm.
Right? And if any kind is gruesome, look at what has happened to Mr. Reyes' children, right? Mr. Lilith's child, and others.
Correct.
And we ask the question, how much is enough? Right? How much is enough before we have to stand up against these systems, as Wendell put it, that have come together to separate fathers from their children? In a couple months' time, Trinidad, election bells will ring. And these people will be walking your neighborhoods for the first time since the last 5 years in some cases. And they'll be inviting you to their rallies. And I don't know. A lot of us will be out there ready to fight each other for red and yellow.
But hear this, bro. They will
And
be
neither
hugging.
can.
They will be hugging and kissing the same babies who, if a week or a month later, the mother and father fall out, the magistrate will give the child or the children to the mother and place the child in a situation of deprivation or clear and present danger or alienation. Right? The same babies that the politicians going to be hugging and kissing a little later on this year is the same babies that the system that they continue to leave in place will do injustice to.
Guys, let me be a little provocative.
Gentlemen,
Let me be a little provocative.
Before you continue, Rondell,
Yeah.
I don't know if the guy's phone battery died or what, but I'm not getting in contact with him.
All right.
Asking, are you seeing the comments coming up on the system?
Nah, we're not seeing any comments. I'm not seeing it.
I'm seeing it now.
Okay, there are some questions. Are there any male magistrates in the family court? Because it seems like female magistrates show favoritism towards women. And there are other concerned people who are, a lot of comments are on the system.
But let's try to address some. To deal with that one to begin with, yes, there are male magistrates, and I think it's a culture, you know. It's a judicial culture. Yes, there are, I would say, good magistrates and judges we could point to. A few male, a few female, I would still say in a minimal number. But there is a culture, because I know some male magistrates, I don't even want to say the court where one exists right now, but that has just left our Twin Isle to get here, that it is the most horrendous thing if a man comes before him. So, and then we've dealt with other male magistrates as we dealt in the situation, guys, with the father in Siparia, who had the 2 strokes and he had him paying maintenance for a 24-year-old woman.
Princess,
you understand? And that was a man, and when we exposed the information, he went on pre-retirement leave. So I think it's more a judicial culture where it's just a lack of real consideration, and they see these cases possibly as the files that are before them. Now, this is not to knock those magistrates, which I still say is a minimum, that really work hard, and those that we could mention, we could call the name. Like Judge Comina, we have Banfield Khan, persons that we actually see bring fairness and balance and understand. And we aren't saying that because they decide to side with anybody per se. We've seen it reflected in the judgments that they make. And that is what we want to provoke the others to do, to be impartial and to be unbiased. Because these biased judgments can have fatal consequences, we are seeing. Very, very fatal consequence. Look at the lives, and it frightened me, you know, Wendell, to hear him ask that question, Selvon.
Yeah.
Whose child next? Because it is so real.
It is real, yeah.
Whose child is next? Now, the thing is, we are saying that We need to put as much measures in place. I can't understand for the life of me, gentlemen, going back to parental alienation. I cannot understand if a child goes missing from the other parent for a year or 2 years, why that isn't an immediate trigger or concern for the state. It means the child, the guy who just called, I think it was Mr. Glasgow, was his name, the first caller? He heard she stole the house. She sold the house and disappeared. But I know you have some questions on the board, guys. So let me go to them. Other questions.
I would like to call, but I'm not in a position to do so. I am truly need some advice again. That's from Marlon Vibes Man Springer. And there's another one that is asking, let's see if I find it here. Okay. The problem to me is an epidemic, because I now realize how many men are facing these trials and these issues and are faced head on by those in authority.
David, what we've been calling on fathers and even mothers, because we have a lot of women who support the Fathers Association, right, who reach out to us as well. You see, I keep telling you all, you see, when these politicians come around in the next couple months, you need to ask them about these issues that are affecting you. Don't just go and shake hands and give them your child a kiss. Ask them, what are you doing to address the issues of parental alienation? Because that is what your member of parliament is there for. You know? That is your voice in the parliament. What are you doing for paternity leave? Something as simple as paternity leave, right? What are you doing for that? We saw the last time we touched on the issue of paternity leave, we had women calling in and women messaging and saying, I wish my husband had paternity leave to be here with me through that crucial time in life and through that stressful time in life. And something as simple as that, is not even, doesn't even seem to be on the agenda of our politicians, right? And I go back to the gentleman who asked about how many male magistrates there. Remember, our Prime Minister is a man. Our Attorney General is a man, right? Our Minister of Health is a man. And others are males. But it seems like there's this mentality that men must kick down men. And as Ronald said earlier, it's not a matter of asking for partiality, you know. It's not we saying we want more than this, more than that, or more than the other. All we are saying is we are parents as well. I remember in looking at reading books in the civil rights movement, you will see men with placards that say, I am a man, black men with that say, I am a man, basically to say, me, black man, is a man too, right? I am to you all. I am a parent too. Mr. Reyes is a parent as well. Mr. Grant, Mr. Fields, and all the men who are fathers here, we are parents too.
Correct. I mean, we have to make an appeal to men specifically. As Shervon is saying, as Wendell is saying, as even Selvon is alluding to, we definitely have to take the bull by the horn. We have no choice in the matter. That is why I used Wendell as testimony there. We have advocated on every level. We have brought the solutions, we have brought the suggestions, we've brought the position, we've brought the issues. The issues keep arising over and over again, yet we are confronted with inactivity continuously. This should be frightening for women too, because you have little boys in your house that are called sons. We go about our lives daily thinking that these social, cultural epidemics, as the man wanted to call it, is not an issue. But it clearly is. We should not wait until it ends in the loss of life to then spring a conscience or spring a thought in our mind. We have to demand a lot more than a box drain from your politician, than to pave my road, or than to see somebody look like your race in power.
Correct.
When you go and you ask, I guarantee you, go and ask the MP about parental alienation, they don't have a clue. You know what they might do? Call Single Fathers Association and see if they're going to help you. When they are supposed to be vested in the issues that confront the people, Not only the economic issues in the area or the ones that are intriguing like crime because they know they could build momentum of those things, but the things that help your family life to continue to foster and continue to be healthy and sustainable. That is important. Building family life so you have stronger community, so you have a stronger society. And to them, that is insignificant, unimportant, because it's not trendy and it's not possibly going to get them votes. And that is why you must put it on the table to give your vote. You must make it a requisite for your vote. Because what else can they really give you? You vote for them and you still look at the box drain. You vote for them and you still look at the road. The only personal satisfaction some of us get is that the person who in power look like us. And if that is enough to buy your vote, then you've just wasted yourself 5 years to wait to vote. It's time to think differently. It's time to demand more. It's time to see impact these decisions made so you have the level of impact in your life that you desire.
And I want to say something to Trinidad and Tobago here. I've been saying it and I will keep saying it. The Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, when you hear us talking, you might say them fellas only making a certain noise about the problems, right? But I want you all to know that we have not only identified the problems for those that are in power and authority, but we have presented solutions to the problems, right? We have identified the issues, we have pointed them in the direction of the problems, and we have also submitted answers and solutions to the problem. So don't let anyone think that the Fathers Association are a bunch of men who just making a certain noise about problems that they haven't, right? We have offered solutions to the problem. So these politicians, these people in positions of power and authority, they don't even have to go and bust their brains to find a solution. We presented them with solutions already. All they have to do is take what we have given to them and build on it. And even that seemed to be too difficult for men who totem PhDs and degrees of different degrees to do.
They too detached from the ground, Wendell. If we talk honestly, they too detached from the ground. Their life is a different life. They pass through traffic with sirens. They don't understand those kind of issues, and even when they have them, because some of them have them, they settle them with finances or these kind of things. When other people can't do that, look at the level of suicide in the family in the country. Men are 4 out of 5 the suicide victims in our country.
That's an easy way of saying they don't care, you know, bro.
Well, but that is the reality. That is the reality.
They don't care.
That is it. That is it. Because and the thing is, we are coming up to a season, as Shervon alluded to, that they will care. They may not care about us, but they care to stay or to go back into power.
They will pretend that they care so that they could get power or retain power, right?
Correct.
And this is why I am saying this to Trinidad and Tobago, those who are listening. I want you all to understand just where these people are operating, you know, just where they are operating, because it is not that we are here on the radio station making noise, you know. We have met with them in person, you know. We have rubbed shoulders with them, you know. We have presented the problems to them. We have identified the problems, and we have identified solutions. They have it.
Correct.
But what they are doing is disregarding and neglecting the people.
And when the thing is, Trinidad and Tobago, and anybody who knows that we have no agenda for this. We have no agenda. When you hear we speak impartially. We speak, if the other party didn't do it too, we talk about that also. Because we are not being paid for this to promote anybody or to pull down anybody or any government. But we are concerned citizens that has volunteered our life for free to change things. We're not getting no salary.
And personally, we have nothing to gain. Personally, we have nothing to gain. It's for the betterment of our fellow man.
Correct. and our sons to come and daughters for the next generation. What will this generation deteriorate into if something isn't done and done expeditiously? As Selvon said, and I tell you, it put the fear of God in me when he said it, because it is so relevant. Whose child next? So, guys, I want to really thank you guys for coming here today. I want to thank everybody that participated today. Mr. Farid Khan, Mr. Emanuel, Mr. Shannon Elite, Selvon. I tip my hats off to you again for, I know, coming out here and giving your testimony, finding the strength to rehash things that you know that were hard for you to bring up in the first place. I thank you for the advice that you give to Mr. Lalit. I hope and I know you're the kind of person he is. I know you're going to stay in contact with him and help him through this ordeal. And guys, on my team, I had to continuously thank you guys, because I know that you guys, Shervon, Wendell, Marlon, even the ones who've passed before, Garrett and Daryl and Larry, this hasn't been exciting, easy, or even at sometimes an enjoyable struggle. Because the things we are advocating for is so unpopular to society. I must commend and thank you guys for continuing to hold on, continuing to hold on to that straw of hope that things will change. And that is what we need from more people. I always hear people say all kind of things. You know, Mr. Field, do this. Mr. Fields, do that. Mr. Fields, you need to do this. But what I look at are persons who are determined for change and act it out. Like you gentlemen, Selvon included. I just call Selvon. And even though he knows a touchy issue, because he wants to see it change, he will put himself out there. So I have to commend you guys from our organization, commend you fathers who came and shared your stories today. I hope for the best going forward for yourself. You know, I just have a phone call away anytime, even if it's just a talk. Because I know sometimes they just want to do that as well. I want to extend my condolences again to Shannon and to the mother also. I wish them the best as they are about to go through a hard ordeal. If he requires some of us accompany him for the funeral, we could make arrangements to do that as well, just to give him that support and to give the family that support if that is the case. And definitely, I want to encourage Trinidad and Tobago to stop talking and get involved too. Hold on to that last hope or straw. If you have the idea to give to Mr. Fields or give to Mr. Grant or give to Mr. Lewis or give to everybody else, come forward with it and commit your life to it. If you are willing and as serious as you make yourself sound. So guys, you guys give your closing sentiments. I really have to say, for me closing today, I just want to thank you all, Wendell, Shervon, for holding on to the end.
Before you guys close off, there's a few comments that are thanking you guys. Personally, I want to thank the Fathers Association for support, and thanks to one or two for giving another medium to share the work that these men are doing. And there's now is the time for positive change. Before you guys leave, there are some people who are asking for advice and assistance. So you can probably share your social media platforms for these people to connect with you guys.
So you all check out the Single Fathers Association page on Facebook, Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago on Facebook. There's a link that is pinned at the top of our page for a Telegram group. All right, it's a men support group. We know women reach out to us for advice as well. You all can message us on the page and we will provide you the guidance and advice. But the Telegram link, the Telegram group is for men only. All right, so Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Thanks, David.
Okay. Anyone of you guys want to have parting statements or comments, anything?
I will give mine time to Mr. Reyes.
Yes. Mr. Reyes.
All I want is change, betterment for fathers.
Well said.
Politicians, ministers, stop playing game, all your own games. When something happens That's the time everybody wants to be on the media and put out this and put out that and condolences. You understand? Shannon, trust me, they will be at your funeral. You know? They will be at your funeral for their expense because election coming. Everybody want to look good. Right? After that, that is it. Right?
Okay.
I want to tell Mr. Shannon, hold strong. Right? Continue praying and asking God for that strength. Because since after this ordeal, I isolate myself. I keep away from the public. Try my best. And because I went through my struggle by myself. Single Fathers Association, Mr. Ronald Field, had a big part to play in helping me by giving me advice and talking to me. Right? And other guys that I knew was going through similar things with their child mother, I put them on to Mr. Fields. Right? And there's so much thing I want to say. It's just one day at a time.
I hear you, my
Blessings,
brother.
bro.
Right?
Blessings, bro. Blessings.
One day at
Blessings.
a time.
Mr. Grant?
I just want to say to the mothers out there, mothers, these are your children. You are the ones who carry these children for 9 months. And some of you, it seems like when these children come into the world and you fall out with the biological fathers of these children, it's like the child becomes your enemy as well as the father, just like the father. And I am appealing to mothers out there. You all need to love yourselves to begin with, because if you love yourself, you will love your child, right? I'm not call. I wouldn't say I would call upon you to love the child father, but love yourself and love your children, and put your children best interests at heart, because look at what is happening. The predators out there, some of you all are attaching yourselves to predators and calling it love, and they're destroying your children, right? These children have fathers. If you all know that you can't take care of the children, don't be spiteful. Let the children have access to their fathers. At least their fathers will be there to protect them. I could tell you, women, as a father myself, I will not stand by and allow anything to happen to my child. As long as I could protect my child, I will protect my children with my life. And I think women should do the same, because you are the ones who carry them, right?
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Randall?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to, as I say, I've thanked the guys before, and I want to reach out to Trinidad and Tobago. I must thank Power 102 FM for this opportunity to share, this opportunity to do what we do. I mean, you all didn't have to extend this to us. You could have done it with anybody else. We must thank you all for that, and we hope that Trinidad and Tobago would appreciate this olive branch that you've really opened up for them and utilize it. We're hoping for the best for our country, and we're asking more people to come forward with the same type of compassion, determination, and I mean, to perceive and to move forward, because we really, really, really need it at this point in time. Trinidad and Tobago, we love you all. We love our children. We love our women. It's time for us to rubbish this separation between men and women, sometimes, which is the epicenter of what causes the division between mothers and fathers and every other thing else. And time for us to unite, stand together, and move toward positive change in our nation, boy. That's what I could say.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure and highly informative. We look forward to next Friday's edition.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening.
The future of talk is here. Power 102